Hello, this video will show you how to check our natural language processing annotations in a spreadsheet. The environment you see here is GitDocs. It's our annotation environment. And you will want to find your document that's been assigned to you and click Edit. If it is not already in a spreadsheet like this, you can use this mode to toggle between the XML, the spreadsheet, and our entity annotation modes. If you are in the XML mode, you can select Ether to get the spreadsheet mode. If the spreadsheet is blank, that means the natural language processing tools have not been run, and you need to go back to the XML mode and run the NLP tools. So in spreadsheet mode, you'll see all of these different columns. These are all of our annotations. Toke is for token, which is the smallest unit that's annotated. Sometimes it's a word, but sometimes it's a letter. So for example, this letter, epsilon, has been annotated as ecthetic and large in the manuscript. That column high rend is for how letters or words are rendered in visualization. And this particular letter is ecthetic, which means it's outside the margin and large. There's a PBXML ID, which tells you the manuscript page number, column breaks, line numbers. These are found in documents that have been transcribed from a manuscript. So column break in the manuscript, line number in the manuscript. It actually should be LB, line break, not line. The norm group is the normalized bound group. The original group is what the original bound group looks like. Normalized is when our natural language processing tools have normalized the text for, there are spelling variants perhaps, or, letters that are missing, things like that. And then pause is the part of speech. Lemma is the lemma. Norm is the normalized word. Orig is the original word. I've already explained high rend. Lang is the language of origin if this is a loan word that's not from, the Egyptian language. So you'll see Hebrew, Greek. Morpheme is for units that are words that are subdivided on a lower than unit level. So, for example, G and Gons is also a compound. Supplied reason is when there's text missing from the manuscript and you enter a reason for that being missing. For example, it's damaged or just missing. And note is for any notes. Your document might have other annotations that are different from this one. They should all have the token, the bound group columns, part of speech lemma, the word columns, the language of origin, and then if there are any words that are annotated at the morpheme level, the morph column. Depending on the document, you might see other annotations as well, or some of the ones here might be missing. So for example, if the document is not a manuscript transcription, you might not have column break and line break. In order to check the accuracy of our natural language processing tools and make corrections, you will want to familiarize yourself with our documentation. So on our main website, there is documentation on the documentation tab. And I recommend you go down here to annotation guidelines. You read the guidelines overview, the part of speech tagging guidelines, and then lemmatization and guidelines as well, because you're going to use those guidelines to check the NLP in the document. So for example, here, this document actually looks pretty accurate so far. I usually start with part of speech and then move to lemma and language of origin. When you get more familiar with the environment, it's possible to check more than one column at a time. But when you're first starting, I recommend just checking one at a time. So part of speech, this is a circumstantial converter era, and all of the tags are in the part of speech tag set and tagging guidelines. So if you don't know what C-circ means, you can look it up on that document. I recommend looking through this document before fixing the tags. And then noun, apa, Makarios. Okay, this looks like we have an error. Makarios is the name of a person, and it's apa Makarios, so we really know that that's a person. So we would change this part of speech tag to the one for a proper noun. Then verb, preposition, noun, preposition, article, noun, preposition, article, noun, punctuation. So these all look good in that first sentence for part of speech. Looking at the lemma, again, you'll want to look at the lemmatization guidelines here before you start on lemmas. And lemmas are just the dictionary head word, right? So a plural noun, the dictionary head word is the singular. For verbs, it's just a regular, infinitive verb. So these all look pretty accurate. You'll notice that for the preposition that turns to a mu before the article, the lemma is the nu. That's a dictionary entry for that preposition. You'll see it happened here as well. So these all look accurate. And then the language of origin, when we annotate the language of origin, we actually go all the way back to the original language. So even if a word came to Coptic through Greek, if its origin was Hebrew or Aramaic, we would put Hebrew or Aramaic there. So Appa, Makarios, that's correct. Helos, that's correct. And there are no other loan words in that sentence. The other column you should really check is the morpheme column. So this is a compound word and this is correct. What you want to look for are incorrect morpheme annotations or missing ones. So right now, I don't see any that are missing, but you'll just want to go through all the words looking for compounds or words with prefixes like minute or at that are not words in and of themselves, but are prefixes. And then if there's a compound or a prefix, you would put it in the morph column. So if I pretend that this verb is a compound verb, this is not actually a compound verb. I'm pretending. And I need to break it up into two annotations. I am going to add a row, that green, and you'll see it adds a row. Watch out for line breaks, column breaks, and page breaks. Make sure that if you're adding at the beginning or the end of a line, that everything gets added correctly, so that the column break and line breaks aren't messed up. And then I'm going to, again, just pretend this is a compound word. It's not. Over here in the morph layer, I would put the two pieces of the compound. Then you want to merge all the words, because this is one word that has one part of speech, a verb. It just has two pieces to it. So in the morph layer, you have the two pieces. In the original normalized and lemma layer and part of speech layer, you have one piece. So you're going to use this yellow grid at the top to merge these. So you see this is all now aligned. You also will need to be sure that you merge the bound group. So that is all aligned. And then you will need to fix the token layer so it corresponds to the morpheme layer. Again, watch to make sure that it's not at the end or beginning of a page, column break, line break, or other item that would end up leaving a blank cell, say, for example, in between this 4 span and the 5 span. If there's a blank cell, you'll need to merge it with the correct line, and likewise column or page. So for example, if I add a line here, right, at the end of line 5, I would need to be sure that whatever text I'm putting in here, I need to check, is that at line 5 or is it on line 6? And then I would need to merge. If I'm merging with line 6, I'd want to move that line number and then merge all of these. I'm going to undo this because I don't actually want that. But that's what you would do if you needed to do that. After you've gone through and checked all of your annotations, you will want to validate, check to make sure that all the annotations and columns are valid and will process through our system correctly. So we have a validation schema, and you click the validate button, and it will check for some errors that will be problems processing this file through our publication system. So it's noting there's some metadata that's missing. If all you're doing is checking the NLP, you can ignore this. Before we publish, we have to, of course, fix all this. And it is noting some errors in specific cells. So for example, you'll see this one is yellow. That's because, oh, there are these blank cells here. That means that bound group, back when I was showing you how to add the morph layer and then I fixed it, I didn't fix it properly. I have to merge these so that this span corresponds with that whole bound group. Now, if I revalidate, it should be fixed. Yeah, that's been fixed. Now, if we scroll down further, you'll see this is also, you'll notice this, in fact, this whole thing is badly tagged. So you will need to go in and fix the tags. And again, if you need to change the span of these cells, this yellow up at the top allows you to unmerge and merge. Yeah, and this one you're going to really need to fix. Again, just go through, you can check all of these. Again, this one, something went really wrong here. So you'll want to fix that. This A negative past, that negative past auxiliary, that should only apply to EMPA, not to whatever comes after, right? So you'll need to unmerge and give this cell a part of speech, or you'll need to merge these. Probably actually what you need to do, since that's the M and that's the P, this actually needs to be merged. This needs to be merged. And then this needs to be fixed. The pi should go up in the same cell as the mu, just like it is here. So move the pi up there and merge. You'll notice that that mu is blue and it looks like it's a hyperlink. That is because the spreadsheet has interpreted the brackets. We put brackets around the M to indicate that it was supplied. You can see there's a supplied reason annotation that's been lost. There should be brackets around that. The spreadsheet that we use as the base of our system sometimes converts those brackets into hyperlinks. You can ignore this, just ignore that link, because when it processes through our publication system, the brackets will come back. It will not go through the system like a hyperlink. It will look like it's supposed to look, like that mu with the brackets around indicating that the text is mostly lost. And again, once you've done all the fixes to these yellow cells, validate one more time just to make sure it's accurate. If you have privileges to commit to GitHub, then you will write a little commit message and hit the commit button, and that will commit to GitHub. If you do not have commit privileges, which you'll know because you and I would have set it up. But if you do not have commit privileges, you can either ask me for them and we can set that up, or you can send me a quick email or message when you're at a point at which you think this should be committed to GitHub. This spreadsheet does save automatically so that your work is saved on our server. But an extra layer of protection and also version control is to commit to GitHub, and which is an environment run by a company that enables saving, sharing, and working simultaneously on documents, especially code. So that's how to check the NLP annotations. Please let me know if you have any questions as you do your work.